And it's Tuesday morning, and we are live at 9 with James Phillips, 101.5 FM, WJLX. And this morning we are joined by Jonathan Guthrie of The Wildflowers. He's a local guy that everybody probably already knows, but he travels all over the globe playing some Tom Petty music, right?
Yes, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
You play a lot of music in a lot of different places, but you're probably best known for The Wildflowers, the tribute band.
That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
That gets around the most.
Yeah.
Still play with the local guys, Smashley, and doing our acoustic shows and things.
You didn't wear a top hat this morning, though.
No, man, I forgot it at the house. You know, we're all natural this morning.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit. I know y'all have a big week coming up. You're going to be in some local areas where people can drive to check you guys out and have several big shows lined up. So where are you going to be over the next few days?
We got July 3rd. We're at Villarica, Georgia. They have a little city fest there, the little town, their little city square there. And July 4th, we're in Choctaw, Mississippi at Pearl River Resort at the Landing. And then hometown show in Birmingham at Workplay, July 5th.
Cool. Yeah. The show at Pearl River Resort. Have you ever played there?
This will be our first time playing at Pearl River. Oddly enough, as much as we've been played over the past 13 years, this is our second time to play Mississippi.
Only the second time?
Only the second time.
Wow. What has Mississippi been missing out on?
You know, we just bypass it and go to Texas a bunch, or Arkansas, or Louisiana, what have you. But for some odd reason,
I've seen a couple shows at different spots at Pearl River, and it's always a lot of fun. It's a cool place.
Great venue.
Yeah.
The Landing, I think, is where we're playing.
Yeah.
Their venue there.
Yeah, I think I've been to that one, and I don't remember who I saw there, but it was a good spot. And then I'm sure you've played Workplay before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we like the venue there. That's usually the spot that I go to. The guys that work there, they treat the bands real good, and it's a good deal. And you know, sometimes that's hard to come by these days when you got that personal.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like that they've reopened, because Workplay was down for a few years. And
they did. They've remodeled inside, new sound system. They've redone some of the acoustical aspects of the venue, and it's definitely for the better.
I haven't been there since they reopened, but I may have to make a trip to Birmingham this weekend for it.
Shoot, yeah, we'd love to sing you a song.
Talk a little bit about Tom Petty, how you got into tribute artist type stuff. I mean, you've played music your entire life, but where did the Tom Petty thing come from?
Oh man, me and the bass player a few years ago, Daryl Stone, we were in a band that was kind of coming to an end, and we were just tossing around ideas to do. And I had recently went and saw a Bon Jovi or a Guns N' Roses at Zydeco, and I as a joke, told him, I was like, man, we should start one of those tribute bands. And he was like, which artist would you do? And I was like, well, maybe Petty would be a lot of fun. Next thing I know, he's got a drummer buddy that knows a keyboard guy, and like I say, about 6 months down the road, we finally added Kurt Granger, our guitar player, and that was the final piece. And 13 years and counting now, and it's been a wild little ride. I never thought it would come.
I was going to say, there's no way you could have thought 13 years would go by and you'd still be playing.
Oh man, yeah. When it first started picking up, and then we got our first agent, the guy out of Florida, and then it moved to here, and then we started booking our own and taking care of our stuff. And then you start the conversation of, well, now we need to LLC, now we need to find all these weird. When I was 16, if you'd have said, hey man, what do you want backstage, and then be serious,
right?
All right, man. It's
and those wants have probably changed a lot over the years too. When you were 16,
man,
you might have wanted different things than you want
brought
now.
to you by ibuprofen.
Right.
Like, yeah, man. It's not, you're not being a big head just to say, hey, I need room temperature water.
Right.
Right. And stuff like that. It's important.
Only green M&Ms, right?
Man, you gotta have the green M&Ms and green tea.
Right.
You get your lattes and I gotta have honey back there. No.
That's for the voice, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's and that's the hardest part, especially when you do some of these longer runs of just staying healthy. That stuff matters.
Yeah.
You're not really just doing it just to be a diva. You've got to take care of yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, what was it about Petty? I mean, there's obviously you kind of look similar to Tom Petty, but
Yeah, I was
what was
blessed
it?
with that. I guess you could say I got lucky on that part.
Can you say that?
Right? But it's really just the music and obviously, but there's so many people. Like when we first started this, I never thought it would go that far. But I've been blown away by the connection that people have with songs. People come up to me and say, even the Losers takes me back to high school, or the Waiting. That reminds me of me and my wife when we got together. There's so much personal connection, with that music, and that's the you can look like Petty and you can kind of sound like Petty, but if you don't bring that authenticity and do it for real type, mentality, I think that's what really separates us, and because you can't fake that.
Right,
You
right.
either gotta love it, feel it, or it comes off stale.
Have you ever had like a seance to try to really connect with him?
Not really, but I'll tell you this story. When he passed away, I had a lot of friends call me. It's like, "You okay?" And it was kind
Right.
of like losing a friend there. But we were playing in Roanoke, Virginia, the next week, and let me tell you, that was one of the hardest. We were doing Learning to Fly, and we used to do it a certain way with it. The crowd was singing with it, and I'm watching, and there's maybe 700 to 1,000 out there at this venue outside, and everybody's singing, and there's not a dry eye in that front row.
Yeah.
And there was a moment there where you're like, this is real. This is a good connection.
Yeah.
It was sad. I had to finish the show, and I don't sing very well when my sinuses are kicking like that.
I got goosebumps just hearing the story, though.
Oh man, it's we we played Daytona a year after his last performance. Now, as a performer, that was a little bit bigger, almost hit me a little harder. Coming up on that year of that 1 year anniversary of the last performance. And you think to yourself, you're going to be able to do this forever, but there's one time where you're going to walk off that stage and you're not coming back.
Right.
And I got a picture, I guess, in my phone of somebody shining a light, and he's walking off the stage for that last time, and that kind of hit us. But anyway, we were playing Daytona, and we recreated that last performance, and it was so interesting to play their actual straight set list and how they move between songs and things. That was really cool, and that crowd, I think, really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. What and I know you get asked this all the time, and you're not going to be able to answer it, but
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite Petty songs? I guess.
One of my biggest favorites still to this day is The Waiting. The first song I ever learned to play and sing, I believe, was Learning to Fly, or Mary Jane. I remember Chris Chamness, past local artist. He had taught me a lot of those songs, the chords to them. Even the Losers is still fun, but there's a bunch of new ones that we've picked up through the year. Forgotten Man is one of my favorite to play, because it's such an ensemble piece. You can't just do that solo. You've got to have the other guitar, the piano, the bass, the drums. They all lock in a certain way, and without a good band, that one doesn't sound good. I love stuff like that. But I hate to say it, but they're all fun.
Yeah, and they are all like, that's the thing. Petty's one of my favorite artists ever, and like I can't name just one. They're all, and they all have a different, like you said earlier, they all have a different meaning, and he spans such a long period of time, and hit so many different really genres.
That's sometimes the hard part about the gig, is doing the early stuff, and then his voice changed obviously as he got older, and to go back out there and still recreate, say, even the Losers, and then say like the Forgotten Man, it's a different voice. It's a different person. He's grown. As an artist at that point. That's one of the. But like we were saying earlier, it's an ensemble piece. There's so many parts. Like say, Refugee without that organ coming in good and
Right.
strong,
Yeah.
that song doesn't sound right. Without certain guitar parts, the solo for the waiting, without that, that's what really makes it is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Right. And I imagine what you guys try to do as the Wildflowers is to give the audience that feel like they are at a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers concert.
We do. We really, and that's something, like I say, you can't really fake either. It's got to be five guys that fight and laugh and spend a lot of time together. And I think that's how you get that authentic, sometimes that's what's missing from some bands, is that you got to get out there together. You got to sweat it out together, and that translates on stage, I think.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people come up, and not necessarily a diss or anything, but they're like, man, you guys are a real band,
Yeah.
Yeah, we interact, and that's, it's tribute, and it's kind of a fun thing, but like I say, it's still serious to us.
Right.
We're still huge fans, of it.
Well, and since you are a part of a tribute band, how do you, let's see, what's the right way to word this? How do you you let the fans have a Tom Petty experience, but they also need a Jonathan Guthrie experience. So how do you bring yourself out?
I used to say this is not an impersonation, but an interpretation,
Right.
so to say. In the early days, I'll let you in. Like I had to get a haircut and get a real job for a second. And so, Petty has long hair, man, and I did wear a wig.
No, you didn't.
I did for a little while, and let me tell you, if that ever happens again, nah, we're done with that.
Right, you're just going short hair.
We're just going short hair, Petty.
Totally uncomfortable and hot, I bet.
And that was the decision. That was one of the points where I really decided, nah, we've got to be me.
Right.
I just so happen to sound like Petty. I'm a huge fan, so to say. So you have to be yourself. And I see a lot of tribute acts that, just toe the line
Right.
hardcore. I can't do that, though. I have to be me.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I asked that, because I know, just in knowing you, I know you're quite the individual anyway. So it's not just going to be, hey, I'm playing Tom Petty for all you folks. This is Jonathan Guthrie as Tom Petty, or
sure,
maybe it's Tom Petty as Jonathan Guthrie. I don't know.
You never know. I mean, I've had some moments on stage where you just lose yourself out there. I remember we were doing House of Blues in Myrtle Beach a while back, and you have these surreal moments on stage where you're looking out in the crowd and everybody's having such a good time or just singing along. I think it was during Free Fallin', and I had walked over and just kind of directing everybody to sing a little bit. And some of those moments like that, you take yourself out for a second. You're looking around going, wow, this is where we are.
Right.
Here in the now.
Right.
Try to live here.
Now, what is the one song that you have to play as a Petty tribute band, or the crowd's going to just go nuts at the end of the night?
There's 4 or 5. I mean, you can't get out of there without doing American Girl.
Right.
Or Free Fallin'. Even Mary Jane. We play it early like they did, and I can't tell you how many people will get to their seats late and come up and say, play Mary Jane. You got to get here early for that one.
Right.
There's a lot of them that are like that, but there's also a bunch when we get done, people saying, I didn't realize how many hits he had.
Right. Well, and there's some songs that people, he went over such a long period of time, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
People of a certain age, they may have missed the early stuff.
Yeah.
Or people of a certain age may have only listened to him with the early stuff.
Well, it's like you guys did that contest there on WJLX there. You see those comments, and just about every one of those comments are different songs.
Right.
And people, from little known like Walls or even Wildflowers or, You Wreck Me. Those weren't technically radio hits,
right.
but there's a lot of deep tracks
Yeah.
that are people's favorite songs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and we do need to mention the concert, I think. I mean, not concert, but the contest.
Yeah.
I think that's still going on until during the Woody Wilson show today.
Sweet.
So people, if you go to our Facebook page, There's a post there talking about the contest where you can win tickets to the Workplay show. I think it's win a couple of tickets.
Yeah. Comment your favorite song and tag your buddy.
Right, right. Comment your favorite song, tag your buddy on that post, not on the ones that I've shared or other people have shared.
Yeah, it's got to be on the WJLX because
Yeah.
I think we shared it too. Go to the link and then
Go
comment
to
there.
the WJLX page and comment there, and we'll be giving away a pair of tickets to that Workplace show. It's on Saturday, right?
Yep.
So-
Saturday, July 5th.
Saturday, July 5th. You'll be full of all the barbecue and not looking for fireworks on Saturday. You need to go watch a rock show.
We'll make our own explosions.
Exactly. And it is a lot of fun for people who have not been to one of the shows. As you said earlier, you guys are a real band, and man, I mean, you're good.
We try. You know, we've even graced the Foothills Festival
Right,
a couple
yeah,
times.
yeah.
That was fun.
That's got to be one of your favorite things, being a hometown guy, to come and play at the festival in Jasper with that many people.
It really was because you know there's certain aunts and cousins and stuff that don't really go to bars, and it's hard to go. You know, we travel a whole bunch, so when you do come to town, it's very, very nice to see some familiar faces out there. To tell you the truth, I think sometimes it's harder.
Right, I
Because
could
if
see
you
that.
don't know anybody, you can just act a fool, and I'll never see this town again. you know?
Right, yeah, you can't be too crazy in
Yeah.
Jasper. But at
But
least with Foothills, nobody's asking you for free tickets, right?
That's very true, man. That it's very rare that you get these types of festivals like that.
Yeah.
They do such a tremendous job.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
they really do. Well, hey, we're talking to Jonathan Guthrie of the Wildflowers, Tom Petty tribute band, here this morning on Live at 9. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the gigs coming up and just some of Jonathan's thoughts on. We've already off the air touched on some things like overrated musicians and things like that. We may bring that up because I think the listeners would like to hear some of those thoughts
Never
too.
know.
All right, we'll be right back here on Live at 9 with James Phillips. And we're back on Live at 9 with James Phillips here this Tuesday morning. I've got to remember what day it is. It's been a blur the last few days. And we are with Jonathan Guthrie of the Wildflowers. And we were talking before we went off the air about just some musical taste. And I mean, obviously you're a Tom Petty fan, but what are some of your other really, inspirations for the fact that you're a traveling musician?
Jimmy Buffett.
That's a good one.
I mean, here lately, I listen to a lot of Sturgill Simpson or especially Jimmy Buffett. I had a friend of mine texting me last night. We were talking about he went to Paris and how many times have you cried to that song,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Different singer-songwriters I really enjoy. Trampled by Turtles is some of the Americana.
Yeah, I
love.
just started listening to those guys,
Mhm.
and they are really, really good.
Very talented.
That's the Spotify channel that I have on right now.
If I could start some other project, I would love it to be some sort of Americana
Yeah.
type band like that. Fiddle players are hard to find. Banjo players are even worse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know?
I grew up in that music. My aunt and uncle are Rick and Gilda Watson. They have played around here.
Oh, wow.
Rick passed away several years ago, but they traveled to all these folk festivals and stuff, and took me as a
Man,
kid.
those banjo players, metal guys think that they're the king of speed.
Oh yeah,
Go
no.
watch some of those mandolin
Yeah.
players tear it up.
And some of those mandolin players and banjo players, like, they get more groupies than anybody.
Man,
I was
banjo players,
shocked.
I mean, it's got you master the claw hammer, and you've got something.
Right. And there's crazy stuff that happens at those folk festivals for the eyes of like a 12-year-old,
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
wild.
the beautiful thing about those, I've been to a few, and the beautiful thing about it is the different groups coming together because there's always like a gospel niche there, and there's always like some of the other, the old bootlegger type mentality of like,
Yeah.
redneck and hillbilly type
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
But it's really interesting to see.
I got to meet Ralph Stanley at one year,
Wow.
and he was like the coolest old dude ever.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Man, some of those cats are just as humble as they can be.
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking about, how do you do this? And they're like, oh, shucks. And,
Yeah.
and
And they don't even realize how good they are.
man, it comes natural. Like if you sit on the back porch enough, you'll get good at finger picking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's you just time on the instrument.
Yeah.
It's like they say, anything you want to do it well. You got to put in your 10,000 hours.
Right, right.
And you don't. You're up the creek.
Right. We had talked before that we went on the air about I like to throw out sometimes like who's your most overrated, and I really did like your answer because I agree with it. And you got to tell the listeners because I mean we may have a riot, but who's the most overrated artist?
I have always thought that Hank Williams Jr.
Oh,
is
you
a
said
little
it.
bit
You said it.
overrated.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Are you going to tell people Leonard Skinner is too?
Man, Leonard Skinner is one of the greatest of all time. Like the biggest tragedy ever is Steve Gaines passing.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
last album.
Oh yeah, they
he
just
was-
kept getting better. You know?
He had a good singing voice too.
Yeah.
But no, that Hank Williams, like I say, he's got some really, really good songs, and they're really good, memorable. I just, I would rather, as far as country goes, I'd rather hear somebody like Vince Gill or Dwight Yoakam or, George Strait, rather than some of his stuff. I just didn't connect.
Yeah, yeah.
But you light up family tradition or Weatherman in a bar, and
Yeah.
you got to sing along.
You
You're gonna
got to
get
sing
tipped.
along, and the tips
know?
start rolling, don't they?
Yeah. It's and the goal to play in music is not always playing everything you love. A little bit, you're there to entertain the crowd and to give them what they want, so to say. And I'll never shy away from playing a Hank tune or anything else. I've really I've never really been a big fan of Steve Miller.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know why.
But I bet you play the Joker.
I have played the Joker many, many times. I've even done it in the right key.
There you go. How about the age that you are? I would think you had to have some sort of time when you were a hair band fan.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
What was your hair band that you would go to?
I was in a band from Gadsden called Canvas. Canvas, not Kansas. We were a Pearl Jam look-alike type, hair everywhere. But now my favorite growing up was STP.
Oh yeah,
that was I've seen them 4 times. Saw them with the new singer. Still a great show.
Yeah.
Now I was STP freak back in the day. I still am.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, things like that, Alice in Chains, that got me. Metallica.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of metal, not a whole lot of metal. There's certain types I guess I don't. Some people would call it stoner metal, like Corrosion of Conformity.
Yeah. See, that's more my metal style. I
would
like
rather
to
have
know
a
what they're
groove.
saying and not just be screaming at me.
Yeah, Cookie Monster bands.
Right.
They kind of turn me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I want to hear what they're saying. I want to feel the groove. I would rather.
I'm the same way with rap music too, though. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know what they're saying. I can't just go with the like. I need lyrics.
Well,
you
it's
know?
funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, guitar player Josh Abel,
Yeah.
plays in Smashley, and we were talking about influences maybe singers have had on your phrasing as far as guitar, and he brought up that a lot of the '90s rap, Tupac, Dr. Dre, things like that. He said some of their phrases has influenced him a little bit in the way
Right.
he does stuff and the rhythms and stuff. But yeah, some of the more modern stuff, it's like how many words can I fit?
Right.
Eminem did it, and it was kind of cool. And everybody else did it. I was like, that's not your thing.
It kind of stopped with Eminem.
Yeah, but some of those guys are really, really good. You'll never get away from a good groove,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
good beat. So any of that music's great.
Beware of the groove.
Yeah, man.
How about talk a little bit more about Wildflowers and what you guys have coming up? I really don't want people to miss a chance to come see you because you're close by, and that doesn't happen very often. So the Georgia show's right on the Georgia line, if I'm not mistaken.
Villarica, Georgia, past the Heflin exit, I believe, and it's the next one on up. Villarica is pretty close.
And that's going to be on Thursday night or Friday night?
That's the July 3rd.
July 3rd.
Thursday. That's
Yeah.
my birthday.
There we go.
And then the 4th, we're in Choctaw, Mississippi at Pearl River Resort.
Right. That'll be Friday night on the 4th.
And then the 5th, we're at Workplay Theater Saturday night. And then, like I say, you get on into July. The next weekend, we're in Atlanta, and then Hickory, North Carolina as a spot. Then we're headed back to Charleston and the show after that. And then after that, I'm at home for a little bit. I'll have a little acoustic show at the barn and Pie Factory.
Right.
So a couple
And you
chances
said this year not booked for Foothills, but you're actually traveling that weekend. You'll be in
wish we were.
in Michigan, right?
Yeah. We caught a gig up in Michigan, headed back up there in September. I think that's the 13th. A lot of traveling in this band. We've been fortunate to strike it out. The Canadian tours.
Well, I was
have
going to
been
ask if you
a
had
lot
done
of fun.
any international shows. I don't know if I count Canada and Mexico.
Right.
You know, I guess that counts as
Yeah,
international.
it's funny when people say, we're America. It's like, no, we're the United States.
Right.
When you go to another country, they let you know. It's like, no, you're not America.
They're a part of
You're the
America
States,
too,
bro.
right?
Yeah. But no, we've been fortunate to be able to tour all of Canada just about. Like we've been to Newfoundland twice now. We've been to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick area twice. We toured the Ontario. And then the last one, the British Columbia. Man,
Oh, I bet that was cool.
seeing those mountains, that's different.
Yeah.
And it almost reminds me that we're from Alabama and we have some of the prettiest landscapes around. I mean, I've traveled a whole bunch. North Carolina's pretty, Kentucky's pretty. I love coming home to Alabama and then hiking, or we hit Blackwater the other day. It's got nothing on the Cascade Mountains a little bit.
Right,
but,
right.
But it's really, it's interesting to see the different terrains.
I read something
travel.
on social media, I think it was yesterday, talking about Alabama and how Alabama is like the Amazon of
That's what they
the
said,
United
yeah,
States.
yeah.
And I thought that was really
We have the
cool.
largest slug population. There's
Yeah.
more species of frogs.
We've
and
always got some
turtles.
random thing that is about to go extinct, you know.
Right. That's I'm a true hippie and true conservationist in that and we really need to pick up your cans and
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be a litter bug.
be it right. You'd think at 2025 we would be done with litter.
Right, yeah.
That would be a thing of the past.
That would be an easy one.
That would be. It
Or-
should be.
Racism. Just,
Right. Like why can
we got
just-
two hippies talking to each other right now.
Oh
so
man, love the land and
Right.
just come from a place of love. man.
how can that be a
Yeah.
difficult thing?
Oh man,
But we make it difficult.
Jesus would not leave his cans.
No, he would not.
He would pick them up. He would know that the frogs.
And I'm telling you, he hung out with fishermen, so he would have been drinking out of a lot of cans too.
I bet he wouldn't have overfished and things like that. Just took what he needed and
Right.
that whole mentality. I love it.
Yeah. Now we were talking about international shows, and in my mind, it had popped in my mind. I think it would be the coolest documentary ever. If there was like a Middle Eastern king that just loved Tom Petty,
Oh man,
you know, and they hired you guys to just come over to
Dubai.
Yeah,
something
Dubai or
crazy.
Qatar or whatever.
Yeah, UAE.
and come play a show. That would be the coolest thing ever.
I get these emails every now and then.
No, don't fall for that. There's not
Yeah.
a prince that needs money.
There's an overflow of an agency out of California, and I get there, and they do send bands to military bases.
Yeah.
Qatar is one that I've seen come through. We haven't gotten one. We're not really known to be a party band, and
Right.
sometimes I think that's what they're looking for.
It probably is. Yeah.
If I were in a desert and somebody's, I'd want to. I'd want to party too. I
Well,
guess.
what if
but,
Kim Jong Un or Il or whichever one it is now?
you
Excuse me.
you may just have to turn him down. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. I didn't know if you go to North Korea
Could
or
be a
anything.
line. I think me and the drummer, and we would. I ain't playing for him.
Right.
Got to draw a line. Not everybody gets petty.
Right.
Maybe it would do him some good.
It would do him some good. I guarantee that. But
Yeah.
maybe it's not your place to be that
Yeah.
representative.
I could do that though. I could spread the love. Petty's music has a good undertone of love and be loved.
Right, right. What song does the we talked about what you had to play.
Sure.
What does the crowd usually play along with? What are they singing to?
Oh,
I know
man.
Free Fallin' for sure got to be.
Well, there's always smaller hits, so to say, like "You Got Lucky" is always a good danceable tune. "Don't Come Around Here No More" is always one that people get hyped up for. They know that build up is coming. Obviously Mary Jane. We love "You Wreck Me" is one that a lot of people they'll get into that. Oh, all
Right.
that.
You ever see a lot of smoke in the during the Mary Jane?
Especially during there's an aroma that comes around, especially on these outside when we're playing.
Smell like a
you don't know how
skunk,
it
sort of.
feels.
Is it
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those that Alabama frowns upon.
right?
Tell you a funny story. We were playing in Georgia, and the little city fest, and about 5 minutes before we walk on stage, this little sweet lady comes in and she goes, "Can you guys not play that song that has the word joint in it?" So we live by a creed in this band of what would Petty do.
He would have played that
So
song.
we played it.
Right.
And we led the crowd on a good old chant because I was, there's a live version if you listen to the new Wildflowers release, and let's roll another one, roll, and everybody's singing along, and
Right.
we come off stage and she was pleased. She was like, "Thank you guys," I was, and it ain't gonna hurt nobody. So.
Right. Everybody's just there to have a good time.
And it is. We were playing Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. That might be, yeah. Every time we said joint, this guy would toss one on stage. Now in Canada, they got very different rules than we do here in Alabama, especially after all this.
Right.
And so they realize that it's not going to hurt anybody. And
Right.
everybody can partake in moderation. And
You could probably pick it up and
you
use it on stage.
Can't smoke indoors. I respect
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. One of the greatest things about playing music in this day and age is there's a lot of bars where you can't smoke in a bar, and I used to hate on that.
Right.
I'm a freedom lover. I think you should be able, but it's nice not going home with your clothes smelling like cigarettes because I've given them up.
Right.
COVID cured me of smoking.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's tough for a singer to be singing for a couple of hours with all that smoke in the air.
I
too.
can't. Yeah, I can't do it as well as I used to when it comes to some of the smoke and cigarettes, all that kind of good stuff. I have to watch myself.
Yeah.
If I'm going to partake in Canada, it's going to be after the show type.
Right. Yeah. It's not going to be during the singing.
Can't. Yeah. You just want it to be. I have a rule for myself. If I'm going to make a mistake, I want it to be an honest mistake, and
Right.
not a. Oh, I was
Not a stupid mistake.
Yeah, not a stupid mistake where you want to control as much as possible.
Right.
you
Right.
know?
I find that most of my mistakes are stupid mistakes.
Oh yeah, I'm good at them. I mean, we were playing some big theater, I think, and we're playing Mary Jane, and I thought we were already done with the song, but I'm after the solo there, the second verse, I'm over there rocking out with the bass player, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, you gonna sing that third verse?" you just get lost in yourself in some of these performances, and I have messed them up all on stage. All of them.
Now, when somebody goes to a Wildflower show, can they expect anything other than Petty? Is there ever a cover of anything else, or
Usually not. We have done a few Traveling Wilburys tunes.
right?
There's a section there where I come out and do a couple of acoustic time at times, and you never know. You never know. I may slide a Buffett song in there. When I guarantee you the band wouldn't have anything to say if I
They
did.
wouldn't mind if you did.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Buffett song to play?
Right now it's Tin Cup Chalice.
Uh-huh.
Or He Went to Paris. I was learning it last night. I can't believe I've never really.
I was going to
sat
say
down.
you've never really sat down and played that.
I have. There's a lot of it that you've listened to that you've never just put under your fingers.
Right.
He
He Went to Paris is such a cool song.
Man, such good. War took his baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that.
And Come Monday is one too.
Come Monday is really really good. I used to cheers to Brett. I used to play that one for him.
Yeah.
He'd come in and Pirate Looks at 40.
Yeah.
Anything off A1A. I think that's still my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Album.
Yeah, it's great.
Living and Dying in 3/4 Time is one of my favorites.
And I like some of his newer stuff too. Like, I mean, he had some good stuff that came out.
He's another one of those artists that don't sleep on those
Right.
later albums. I mean, 70s were cool and 80s were all right, but he still was popping them out.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of Petty's later stuff like Hypnotic Eye, those albums. That one actually went to #1. That was his only album, I believe, that went to #1.
Right.
That's the last one that they put out. He'd been doing it for 40 years, so don't give up. You too can have a #1 album.
What do you think was the biggest change in Petty's life over the years? Because I mean, he really
If you
changed himself a lot.
He did. If you, in my opinion, if you watch or listen to the transition from Into the Great Wide Open album to Wildflowers,
Right.
that changed everything. I mean, his drummer, at that point.
I mean, that change to me is almost like a spiritual change. Like you can just feel it,
Well, I think some of it has to. This is just my opinion, but I think some of it has to do with getting older.
Yeah.
We're not. None of us are going to be what we were when we were 20. And so you have to expect that. And I think age with grace, and be honest with yourself and just be who you are. And I think that's what he was doing. He moved into, I'm not the same guy that's singing at the top of my lungs at, singing Rebels.
Right.
Way up there a little bit, certain spots. So you have to write what you feel. And, those later albums, like Highway Companion was the last solo album. You hear it. You hear his music, his voice changing a little bit.
Yeah. Everybody, reminding you guys, it's Live at 9 with James Phillips here on WJLX. We're joined this morning by Jonathan Guthrie of the Wildflowers, and they're playing all over nearby this week. Go check them out if you're going to be traveling close to Georgia. They're right there on the Georgia line on Thursday. And then on Friday, they're going to have a huge party at Pearl River Resort, who we love Pearl River Resort here at WJLX. And, man, I guarantee you, that's the 4th of July. You can get some Tom Petty music. There's going to be some fireworks, and there's always some really good places to eat.
Tell me what artist is more American than Tom Petty?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Maybe CCR, I guess.
Maybe, but
we
I
talk
don't
about
know.
that a lot.
Tom Petty is as Americana as you get.
American Girl.
Yeah, yeah. I bet y'all gonna play American Girl, aren't you?
I'll bet we do. And there is not I still get the little well in my stomach kind of going when you first hear that opening, bloom, 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 and just everybody lights up.
Right. Yeah.
That never gets old.
Because everybody knows that song. Like, I mean, as soon as they may not know who's singing it, but they know that song.
Yeah. I have had, apparently Taylor Swift did a version of it or something. And I had a little girl come up to me after a show. It's like, I really liked it. You guys played that Taylor Swift song. I don't know if she knew who Tom Petty was, but she knew that song. And,
you set her straight though, right? Like,
I did in a sense. I said, thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate you. She took a picture and I love it all.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. And then Saturday, you guys will be right here in town, basically in Birmingham.
Theater.
Workplay. It's such a cool venue. If you've never seen a show, if you're from Jasper and you've never been to a show at Workplay, go do it this weekend. How much are the tickets? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think they're 20.
Yeah, I mean, and it's affordable. Like,
Yeah.
We're not talking about going out and spending $100 per person to get into Workplay.
You'll get your $20 worth.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'll make sure of that.
Top $20 you can spend this weekend.
One reason why we like that venue so much is the way the stage is set up, and you're kind of close. You're in on.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. Everybody now wants to be all crazy, spread out, and I'd rather be right there.
Oh yeah,
at my feet.
It's really intimate. People will be right up at the stage, and it's just it really. I haven't been there since they reopened it, but
yeah, their new sound
such
system
a cool place,
bar none. I hate to say it, I'm gonna miss their old sound guy. He's a crazy one, but now that they've, like I say, they've revamped a lot of it. A lot of the acoustics are a little different. Opened up the bar, I think, on the top part or whatever. It's a little easier to get around now.
Yeah,
Josh has done a great job.
Yeah,
in that venue.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of metal shows there too. They're spreading it out.
That's cool. And go check out Workplay, their website. Also look at our Facebook page. We're giving away a couple tickets to that show. You just got to comment and share, and tell us what your favorite Petty song is, and tag one of your buddies on there. And Woody Wilson here in the 10 to 2 area today, we'll be giving away those tickets. So definitely, you got a little bit of time. Go get your name in the drawing. And Jonathan, anything else? I just want to tell everybody, go support the Wildflowers. Like, this is a local guy who does some incredible stuff on the stage. Go support these guys. Anything you got to say?
Love Petty. Love you guys. Just love.
He loves Jasper too.
Yeah, man. You know, there's a really cool thing happening in Jasper right now. If you notice, there's a lot more venues like Wind Down or Pie Factory, or a lot of these newer places
Tallulah.
around here. Tallulah, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the barn out there, they've still got live music going on, and it's such an important, I think, piece of not just entertainment, but just I'm telling you, there's not a lot. We've got a good thing, and I think Jasper should foster that as much as possible.
Well, there's such a cool vibe in Jasper a lot of the time that, it gets a bad name sometimes. Walker County does, and Jasper, but
it's better than people think it is.
It's
Everybody
way
hates
better.
on their hometown,
Right?
But let me tell you,
If you leave and come back, you realize how good it is.
you realize how good the people are. People are just honest. They'll tell you what they think, and I love that. But like I said, just these new guys that have been playing around, you see Christian Gann a lot, and some of the what is it, Rowdy something band. I like those guys. I can't think of their name. But there's a lot of good young artists that I see kind of messing around. Gracie Harris is kicking around, and she's getting a lot better. But there's Jasper's a good hub for a lot of music. You think a lot of the guys that come, like Landon or Chris, or back in the day Spiegel. There's a lot of people. Even though Zach Baker made a stake out.
Let's not give Zach a big head or anything.
Man.
But, I mean, he is a great musician.
Call him out. He'll
Or
appear.
what about like Eric Dover?
Eric? Really? Yeah. There's such a good lineage of folks that and a lot of folks that aren't, I say, a household name, that are out there doing it.
Right. Right.
That have moved off and just don't really care to have the association, I guess. But nah, we got a good thing going here.
Yeah.
We should foster that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us this morning, Jonathan, and thanks everybody for listening in. Thanks to Terrell Monasco, as always, for producing us in the background here. Coming up next, we got Woody Wilson. He's going to take over class, and just let the professor teach you something today. He's got so much knowledge when it comes to rock and roll.
Yeah, he does.
Let him teach you something. Just listen in. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday morning with Live at 9. And until then, I'm James Phillips. We'll see you on Thursday.